Today's theme is wagashi, Japanese traditional confectionery. Reflecting various aspects of nature and the changing seasons, the sweets are exquisitely shaped and crafted, earning them the name edible art. Representing the essence of Japanese culture and tradition, wagashi are meant to be appreciated not just with one's taste buds, but with all 5 senses. They provide an inspiration, a driving force for new designs.
Welcome to Design Talks, the show where we explore the beauty of Japanese design, a reflection of the Japanese way of life. Hello everyone, this is Andrea Pompilio.
And this is Shala.
Hi Shala.
Hey.
So our topic today is wagashi, Japanese sweets.
Yes.
Do you have any favorites?
I would have to say one of my favorites, the sakuramochi.
Sakuramochi.
Yeah, I love sakuramochi with the leaf on it.
Leaf,
I love it.
The beauty of that.
Yes.
Wagashi are about more than just flavor.
Yes.
They have a very close connection to the Japanese tea ceremony.
Yeah.
Right?
Japanese tea masters have long played an important role in wagashi design. Soshin Kimura. As he preserves the cultural tradition, he also constantly seeks new approaches to tea. One example is a highly original tea room he produced for the Milano Salona International Furniture and Design Fair. In his blog Ichinichi Ika, or One Day One Wagashi, he presents a perfect arrangement of wagashi and serving dishes, one for every day of the year. The blog has a large following with both tea ceremony devotees and novices alike.
Wagashi, Japanese traditional confectionery, appeal not just to the taste buds. They're beautiful to look at as well. They're delicious, of course, but it's interesting to note that taste was not the driving force behind their development.
The wagashi design is an important part of hosting a tea ceremony. Let's hear a little more about this in the studio.
Our guest today is tea master Soshin Kimura. Welcome.
Hello.
Thank you for coming.
It's nice to meet you. Please have a seat. Kimura-san, getting right down to business, I enjoyed reading your blog Ichinichi Ika, or One Day One Wagashi. The idea of wagashi, Japanese confectionery, conveying a particular season or atmosphere was very intriguing.
The idea is to focus not just on the wagashi itself, but what it represents. The seasonal inspiration and the story behind its naming. It's like hosting a tea ceremony on the web by matching wagashi and dishes. That's what I am trying to do with my blog.
It's a wonderful idea.
Thank you very much.
Neither of us knew very much about this, but I understand that tea masters are closely involved in the designing of wagashi.
A tea ceremony usually involves serving a multi-course meal. The host is responsible for working out every single aspect of the occasion. He or she is the overall coordinator. Wagashi provides the finishing touch to the ceremony, with the central role in conveying messages, representing the seasons, and so on. Obviously, choosing the most appropriate type of wagashi is one of the host's responsibilities. The design is very important. That's why we sometimes act as designers as well.
Now, how does Kimura-san go about designing the wagashi for a tea party? Let's take a look.
Now we see what goes into the creation of a wagashi for a tea ceremony. Kimura is in the midst of the design process. He draws numerous sketches to come up with a clear image of what he wants. This is the moment of creation.
Various elements come into play. Whether the emphasis is on the dish or the wagashi, the theme of the tea ceremony, or who the guests will be. This time, my guests will be an architect and a designer. So I'm hoping to create a simple and modern-looking wagashi with an architectural or design theme.
He's going to order custom-made wagashi for the ceremony. He provides the wagashi maker with the exact specifications for creating the sweet. Wagashi artisan Hironori Takaya. He's making namagashi, an unbaked sweet made by shaping sweet bean paste. In the tea ceremony, namagashi are considered to be the ultimate wagashi because they don't keep, reflecting the idea of each ceremony being a unique occasion to be prized. The key points in Kimura's design are a building and a ruler. The wagashi artisan interprets and gives form to Kimura's design. The synergy of design and craftsmanship are behind the creation of beautiful wagashi. The day of the tea ceremony. The scroll he selected for his guests, who are both involved in creative fields, bears the text, "Don't trouble yourself over trivial matters. Attend to what is really important." He carefully arranges the made-to-order wagashi on the specially selected dish. The pairing, placement, and balance of wagashi and dish are all important elements in the design.
I thought the pairing of an abstractly shaped piece of wood and a wagashi with a sharp geometric design would be appropriate for my guests today.
He's about to serve the wagashi to his guests.
Please try the sweets. Buildings and design made me think of a ruler, and so I named the sweet Sashigane, or Carpenter's Square. The right angle and the layered structure conjure up images of a building. Interesting.
The cross-shaped incision is very attractive.
The full pleasure of the occasion is reflected in the small wagashi. The role of wagashi in the tea ceremony is to embody the spirit of hospitality.
That was very interesting. So when preparing for a tea party, you always think of your guests and present them with images that they inspired in you.
You can't hold a tea ceremony without guests. This is what differentiates tea ceremony from flower arrangement or the traditional performing arts of No and Kyogen, which focused on offerings to the gods. Tea is unique in that it involves the interaction of people. The host designs the communication that takes place among the people who have come together.
That's very interesting.
The wagashi shouldn't be too obvious. The shape needs to be subtle enough to stimulate the imagination and encourage the guests to think of the messages it might be conveying.
With a slight hint of playfulness.
Yes. In order to appreciate some wagashi, you need to employ senses other than taste and sight.
What do you mean?
Each wagashi has a name, but the name isn't revealed to the guests until they've finished eating it.
Is that always the case?
Yes, in formal ceremonies. While appreciating the wagashi, the guests imagine what they symbolize, so afterwards, when the name is revealed, it all comes together.
That's fascinating.
Every wagashi has a poetic name. This is a book published in the 17th century. Titled Nan Chohoki, or The Gentleman's Treasury, it's a book on etiquette for men. It contains the names of as many as 250 wagashi. In those days, a man of refinement had to be able to visualize the design and the image that inspired the wagashi just by its name. For instance, Tatsuta Mochi. This is a wagashi with a maple leaf motif. It was inspired by the Tatsuta River, a famous spot for admiring autumn leaves. With wagashi, the name itself is part of the overall design. The Toraya Archives is located inside a venerable wagashi store in Tokyo. It houses a wide assortment of precious materials related to wagashi. Wagashi design books are collections of wagashi designs from various eras. Salesmen use these books to take orders from important clients, including samurai lords and aristocrats. In other words, they served as sales catalogs.
This design book dates back to 1695.
The book contains the names and designs of various kinds of wagashi, an indication that emphasis was placed on these elements even then.
The designs became more colorful and elaborate in the late Edo period, in the early 19th century.
The range of designs started to expand, covering both the abstract and concrete. Take, for instance, these motifs: the autumn moon, falling cherry blossoms, an apricot blossom covered with frost. Seasonal elements became more common.
I think people in the old days were able to enjoy the changing seasons through these design books.
This design book, published in 1918, features quite delicate designs that are like paintings.
Sometimes it's difficult to know how to recreate the wagashi depicted in these books. The artisans have to use their imagination, resulting in the creation of new designs, which are based on the old.
The development of wagashi mirrors the development of Japanese culture itself. Wagashi artisan Isao Ikeda says that the delicate beauty of Japanese traditional sweets, now known worldwide, was inspired by the beauty of Japan's 4 seasons.
According to the old lunar calendar, the year can be divided into 24 divisions, which can be broken down further into 72. This means that there's a change in the season every fortnight or so. And this seasonal change is visible, so both culinary and wagashi worlds can therefore be subdivided according to season.
Ikeda works in a cycle of 10 days, making over 10 different kinds of wagashi per cycle. This adds up to a total of around 360 varieties a year. He says there are 5 different designs for persimmons alone, including this green one. We asked him to make a different wagashi for each of the 4 seasons using the same ingredients. Cherry blossoms are for spring. The bean paste is colored and kneaded together to create a gradation of colors. Placing a ball of azuki bean paste in the center, he forms a smooth sphere. Using a special tool, he forms the petals. He uses one of his original tools to add the finishing touches to the blossom. Somei Yoshino, a depiction of the Somei cherry blossom petals of Mount Yoshino at the height of spring. The summer motif is a waterfowl. He wraps the bean paste in a thin cloth to form the basic shape. Then he forms the beak and silhouette with his fingers. It conveys the refreshing image of a waterfowl swimming in a rippling brook. He even captures the texture of the feathers. Autumn calls for chrysanthemums. He combines 3 different colors of bean paste, and uses the special tool to skillfully carve multifold petals. An evocation of a burst of colorful flowers titled Iwai Giku, Festive Chrysanthemums. For winter, peony flowers. He presses yellow bean paste through a strainer to add the finishing touches to the peony he has molded. Kanbotan, a flowering peony in the snow, braving the winter chill. Note the cross-section. The gradation of colors enhances the beauty of the confection. The Japanese aesthetic of appreciating the seasons down to the finest detail provides the inspiration for the beauty of wagashi.
Wagashi are visually appealing and they taste good as well. We have here in the studio a number of autumn namagashi, or unbaked sweets. This is a moment we've been waiting for.
I can't wait to try them. That video clip made my mouth water.
But before that, just one more thing. These two wagashi are both chrysanthemums. This one has been shaped with a mold, so the petal design is embossed. Whereas this one here uses sweet bean paste to depict a chrysanthemum in the soft rain. The motif and ingredients may be the same, but the result can be quite different.
What about shaolas?
This one is a steamed bun made of yam that's filled with bean paste. It's branded with a rabbit. Adding a touch of yellow makes it appear as if the rabbit is admiring the beauty of the moon. It's a charming design.
Let's try them, shall we?
Yum.
You'll find it'll break easily in half.
Ah, it does. It's delicious. Not too sweet. It's enjoyable even without tea. It has a delicate taste.
I personally was really surprised to learn that the appreciation of wagashi actually started out as a pastime for men. Why was this the case?
Well, sugar was expensive and sweets were a rare delicacy, so they were served to guests outside the home and at official receptions, a man's domain.
Nowadays, the main market for sweets is aimed at women. So it's very interesting to hear that in the past, they were quite rare and only served at business or formal occasions to men. I never knew there was so much history to wagashi.
Japan lies in the easternmost part of the Far East. It is very mountainous, with a limited area for rice fields and arable land. So it was a relatively poor country. Even the upper class couldn't afford to indulge in the luxurious lifestyle enjoyed by European royalty and aristocrats. They had to make do with limited ingredients and a more frugal lifestyle. So they sought to appreciate the beauty of nature as a means to enrich their lives. Wagashi could be considered delicious for the way they encapsulate the beauty of the seasons and not just their taste. They stimulate the brain in numerous ways. An important part of this approach is to liken it to something. For example, say you have a white bun in front of you. If you say this is a white bun, then that's it. But if you give it a poetic name like Fragrance of the Moon, then it inspires a whole range of images.
So it stimulates the imagination. Interesting.
An even more crucial element is the perception of beauty. In Europe, beauty often lies in symmetry and perfection. However, in Japan, it's quite the opposite. Beauty can lie in imperfection and flaws. Wabi-sabi values the beauty that is to be found within such simplicity and imperfection that speaks to the soul. It reflects an important aspect of the Japanese mentality, to think positively of imperfection.
Moving on now to an artist whose inspiration comes from the designs of wagashi. Let's see what he's up to.
What seems to be a stunning wagashi, featuring a motif of colorful chrysanthemums, is actually a work of art made by pressing Japanese washi paper into wagashi molds. Tetsuya Nagata is a contemporary artist whose work reflects his great attraction to the artistry of wagashi. His works, with their touch of Orientalism, have received wide acclaim both in Japan and overseas. They've been used to decorate the lobbies of hotels and have been exhibited at various venues, including Paris trade fairs.
I used to recreate the shape of various objects with Japanese washi paper. I even tried making a big power shovel and an old three-wheel Mazda truck you don't see anymore now. One day, when I was at a flea market, I happened to look down and my eyes lit on something. It was a wooden wagashi mold in the shape of a sea brim.
Wooden molds were used to make wagashi from bean paste or sugar. Captivated by their artistry, Nagata has built up a collection of over 2,000 of them.
They come in a variety of designs. Some were used in day-to-day life, while others were used for making gifts to present to guests on auspicious occasions. And it dawned on me that all kinds of memories are embedded in these molds.
The molds, he says, retain the memories and feelings of the people who once worked in the creation of wagashi in various regions and times. He allowed us to film how he goes about creating his works. He begins by immersing a piece of washi paper in water, which he then uses to cover the entire mold. He then presses the paper into the mold, filling every single crevice. Pounding the paper creates tiny holes which help to release the air trapped underneath. This allows the paper to stick firmly inside the mold. He repeats the process with multiple sheets of paper to achieve a particular thickness. He sometimes tears the paper to vary the thickness. This helps to enhance the three-dimensional effect once the paper is removed from the mold. He says Japanese washi paper is essential for his creations. The paper is flexible but tough and has a warm luster to it. After allowing the paper to dry for a whole day and night, he removes it from the mold. Because washi is comprised of densely packed thin fibers, the embossed paper reveals every single detail of the mold, even more so than the wagashi for which the mold was intended. Nagata combines the designs from different molds to create new and distinctive designs.
Each mold has its own history. By assembling them to create an original design, I'm hoping to create a new story and offer a new perspective on the world.
The sea bream is one of many molds used for celebrations. By combining various molds, he forms a magnificent view of Mount Fuji from beyond the waves. The memories and feelings retained in the wagashi molds transcend time and place, leading to the creation of new designs.
What a wonderful idea.
So creative.
He draws out the memories and feelings embedded in the molds.
Yes, and revives them.
Bringing new life into them.
In a way, I believe overlaying the mold with paper draws out its potential in a way wagashi cannot, the way it accentuates the details. Nowadays, we rarely see wagashi made with large wooden molds. They're not as popular as they used to be. In that sense, if more and more people were to see Nagata's washi paperworks, I believe it could help spark an interest in the wagashi that the molds were intended for. So that's another way in which his works could help to revive the molds. I've actually brought some tea and wagashi for you today that I'd like you to try.
Whoa, thank you.
That's so kind of you.
I'll go and set things up.
Now this is amazing.
Wow.
I'm overwhelmed. This is the wagashi you served at the tea party we saw.
Well, I thought it would be perfect for a program called Design Talks. The dish, called wasara, is designed by Shinichiro Ogata. It's made of washi paper. But I asked a friend of mine, Keiko Nishimura, a lacquerware artist in Kyoto, to try lacquering it.
You had it coated in lacquer? What a great idea.
Please, go ahead.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It's delicious.
Try the tea too. Andy, your tea bowl is the work of one of Japan's leading artists of rakuware. He went all the way to France to fire it.
Wait, you're making me nervous.
That one dates back to around the year 1700. It has a nice irregular shape.
We appreciate you bringing such precious tea bowls to the studio. It has such a rich aroma.
An interesting thing about the tea ceremony is that it brings different elements from different periods together in one place. You're drinking and eating things that were produced today. These will disappear once they've been consumed. The bowl you're drinking from was made over 400 years ago, and the dish is from a contemporary designer. In this way, tea transcends time, space, and individuals. That's what makes it so interesting.
You said that hosting a tea party is all about designing communication, and you've really done an amazing job of that. It's like everything comes together in a very natural way.
Yes, you don't need a special room for the tea ceremony. Tea can be enjoyed even in the studio like this, as long as the host gives careful consideration to his guests, right down to this tiny wagashi here. The guests are excited and inspired. That's what makes wagashi so special.
Thank you very much for coming today.
My pleasure.
Thank you so much.
NHK World, your eye on Asia. Japanese ceramics, Western-style cooking. Two traditional art forms come together in a unique meeting of form and beauty. Karatsuware has a 400-year history. Earthy and sturdy, it's ideal to brighten an everyday meal. Master potter Taki Nakazato creates an exquisite plate for serving an appetizing Italian dish prepared by renowned chef Yoshimi Hidaka on the next Food and Pottery. Wood that can take the heat. Space-age undies that don't stink. A miniature car you can program. From the hottest gadgets to the coolest exhibits. It's a showcase of unique products from a wide range of industries. All Japanese ideas and technologies. Yours to discover each week on Great Gear.